Happy Pride Month,
Happy Pride
everybody.
Month.
Welcome to the
The
Vibe
Vibe Check.
Check. And today we're talking all about pride.
Welcome to the Vibe Check with Kaylee and Vanessa. Let's talk about mental health, no judgment, just good vibes.
All right. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
So today we're talking about Pride and Pride Month as it's
As you
June.
can see, we have updated our logo.
More pride appropriate logo.
Which is also honestly really cute. Like
It's
I actually
very
do
cute.
like
I love it.
But we're not changing our logo.
No, but
Sorry.
It's so cute. So what are we going to talk about today, Vanessa?
So it's pretty much all about pride. So we're talking about inclusivity.
The history of Pride Month.
Yeah, I was like, what am I
talking through some of like words?
Yeah, like what things mean, kind of more like a deeper understanding and like maybe answering some questions. We have like a little Q&A portion of like today. Yeah, just kind of going through the facts and then also talking about kindness and respect.
Yeah. And the base of this episode is kind of just acknowledging that a lot of the mistreatment and disrespect comes from a lack of understanding and a lack of knowledge. So we kind of want to increase that knowledge and also just encourage you to be kind to someone, even if you don't understand.
Exactly. And no matter what your beliefs are, no matter where you come from, no matter what you've learned, no matter what you don't understand, it doesn't justify cruelness or being mean. All we have to do is be kind, and everybody's beliefs should be in line with that.
Exactly.
Right? Like no matter where you come from, no matter what you believe, that's a standard of everybody's belief system, is that we should be kind to others. And we're also, this podcast is all about mental health. So we're going to talk about that too, and kind of how Pride Month and or just pride in general is actually good in promoting mental health.
Exactly.
So
creating a safer space for everybody.
Yeah.
So going off that, what is pride? So
being proud.
It is being proud. It's being proud of who you are, regardless of anybody else's opinion.
Yes.
It's a time to celebrate yourself and for people being exactly who they are. It's especially it's especially important for people who are part of the 2SL LGBTQ plus community, because it wasn't always the safe space.
No,
it still isn't in some areas.
It's true.
To be out and proud and just like express yourself in the way that you want to. So it's just kind of a time for everyone who believes in kindness, being true to you, to kind of
express themselves,
express that, and
be who they are, and celebrate it. Yeah. So I guess we can do a little history 101.
Yeah, talk us through the history.
Little history lesson. I need like the glasses for like put my glasses on.
Okay.
That doesn't mean you're smart if you have glasses.
Also doesn't mean you're a nerd. Anyways, we digress. Go ahead.
Don't listen to us. Oh, actually, that should be something we mentioned before. Not to not listen to us, but just to take everything we say, like also that we don't know everything.
No,
we're
bit learning like everybody else is.
Yes, and so if there's something that we say that maybe is incorrect or have been updated since our research shows, please let us know. Like we are more than happy to figure it out and want to learn, right? I think that's what this podcast is all about, is like learning, right? It's okay to learn about something even if you don't maybe understand it.
Yep, and it's okay to make mistakes as long as you're willing to learn from mistakes and change your behavior based on the feedback
we're all growing.
Being given.
You never stop learning. So now,
all right, history.
Speaking of learning,
tell me
history 101.
What's Pride? Why do we celebrate it? Why do we celebrate in June?
Okay, I'm going to refer to my notes.
Please
because it's a lot of words. Okay, so Pride began to honor the Stonewall riots. So that happened in New York back in 1969. So that was like the first kind of start of it all. It was led by queer and trans folks and many people of color as well. Everybody kind of came together in that moment, because back then it was illegal to be openly gay, and in many places, in all those places, people like they were treated unfairly. Anybody who identified differently or who felt different and couldn't express themselves, they were treated unfairly. And so what happened was they were tired of being harassed for simply just existing.
Exactly.
And that So then what happened was it was followed by decades of activism, community building, and push for equal rights and visibility. So that's what kind of started it all, the Stonewall riots. But then from that, it started kind of what Pride Month has become today. And so protests were led by brave folks such as Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Riviera, who were two trans women of color who stood up for what was right. The first Pride March actually started in 1970. And then since then, Pride has grown into a global celebration of love. And it's a reminder that the fight for equality is not over. So, but also just like a disclaimer too is like Pride is not just a party. It's meant to be shown as a safe space, and a message that connects deeply to mental health as well. Because when people aren't accepted for who they are, it can take a serious toll. Yeah. And so that kind of leads into like the next section we have, which is identity and mental health. But did you want to touch on the history at all?
No, I was just going to give a little bit of explanation of Canada. Now that we've discussed some of the general history behind Pride, we just wanted to take a moment to just discuss a little bit of Canadian side of the history. So in 1971, this is when Canada's first gay rights protest happened in Ottawa and Vancouver. And then in 1996, the Canadian government added protections for people from discrimination based on their sexual orientation. Then in 2005, Canada became the fourth country in the world to allow two people to marry the same gender. And then 2017 is when the Canadian government apologized for past harms to 2S LGBTQ plus individuals and acknowledges two-spirit identities in Pride events and then in their discussions. And nowadays, Pride encompasses love, identity, visibility, and community, and it involves marching, sharing stories, and supporting one another and celebrating our authenticity.
History 101 complete.
Woo. Okay. I don't know why I keep fist pumping today. It's kind of
I think it's cringy. The music that we were listening before.
Probably we were jamming out.
Identity and mental health.
Yeah.
How do they relate?
So studies have shown that people who identify in this 2S LGBTQ plus community are at much higher risk of experiencing things like anxiety, depression, trauma, self-harm. And this isn't because of who they are and their identity. It's because how they're treated based on those identities. So things like bullying and rejection, or even just like feeling invisible, can have very real mental health effects.
Yeah, we did that whole podcast on bullying, right? Because that is a main thing that causes mental health, right? And so people get bullied, and this is being treated unfairly because it's part of who you are, how you feel. That is not good.
The nice thing is like this isn't just like how it is or how it has to be. Like having affirming environments and safe environments where like these individuals can feel safe and respected can act as a protective factor for their mental health. So like spaces like the youth center or other youth centers, creating their space that's welcoming and accepting of all types of identities is very important in protecting the mental health of individuals in our communities. And being seen and supported isn't just something that feels nice. It literally will save people's lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that people don't really recognize is that just because you think, oh, I'm just saying one mean thing that can't like, it's not that serious, but like, it's not just one mean thing. It's all these things over time.
Yeah.
That can create a very negative environment for an individual, and have really detrimental effects.
There was a study done by the Trevor Project, and it was queer youth who had just one affirming adult in their life, just one, actually were 40% less likely to attempt suicide.
That's very cool.
Math.
Just think of how much better and like higher that number of being less likely to attempt suicide,
or that we wouldn't even have that number at all.
Exactly. If everyone was just an affirming, respectful, kind human being.
Yeah. Sad.
It is sad.
But that just goes to show that even if you don't understand, your beliefs say otherwise, it's a human life, right? You want to love them for who they are. They don't have to align with what you believe, but you can just love them. That's the whole point.
And that's kind of what our aim is here, is just to kind of create this like space where people can learn to maybe like one thing we'll keep repeating is that you don't have to understand to be kind, but
No.
sometimes for some people it helps. So
Yeah.
if we can like make you understand even like a tiny bit more,
And
it'll
just,
help you
yeah.
maybe to be a bit more kind. But just like at the bottom line, just be kind.
Be kind. I think that we'll probably say that like 20 more
Yeah.
times at least throughout this episode, because that's the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that could be solved, but I don't know. That's a bold statement. But I feel like everything could be solved if people were just nicer to others and didn't judge as much. I think judgment is so harsh because who gives you the right to judge me, right? Like that's the thing that I think a lot of people have to question themselves. Is like, why are you judging them, and would you want them to judge you?
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. So now we're just gonna move on to chatting about some words that we might hear that we might have wondered about. Just give a little like, explanation of what they mean.
Yes.
So first is the acronym that we've said multiple times already.
Yes.
It's the 2S LGBTQ plus community. So this is an acronym
Break
that
it
kind
down.
of encompasses not all, but some of the main labels that are encompassed in this community. So 2S refers to two-spirit identities. These are identities specific to the Indigenous community. And it refers to someone who encompasses both feminine and masculine energy. And they're seen as kind of a wisdom holder. They kind of hold like a higher place in that culture, and we'll also include some like resources down below to learn a little bit more about this stuff, because again, we aren't geniuses. That's not the word I was going to say. We're not experts. That's the word I meant to say. We're
yes.
not. Al refers to lesbian, so this is someone who a woman who is attracted to women. Gay refers to men who are attracted to men. Bisexual is someone who's attracted to the same sex and opposite sex as them. The Q refers. Oh, I skipped T. The T refers to transgender. So this is someone who doesn't identify with the sex they were assigned at birth. And this could have a very wide range of different configurations and presentations. The Q refers to queer or questioning. And one thing I wanted to note is that I feel like it's a common question or a common misconception whether like queer is a bad word.
Yeah, it's true.
I just kind of want to like put a little bit of an explanation for that. So I feel like nowadays queer is used as more of like an umbrella term or like a label that is just a little bit more comfortable for some people. Personally, for myself, I like using the term queer just because it feels more broad, and for me personally, I'll only speak from my experience, just feels more like I don't need to identify with a single thing. It just like I know I'm a part of this community, but giving it a different label doesn't feel right for me yet.
That is needed for you.
Exactly. But yeah, it's used kind of like as an umbrella. And then I think the reasoning behind it being considered potentially a bad word is kind of the intention behind it. It also used to be a slur,
just like gay was as well, right? Like all like of those
gay
things.
And queer used to be slurs, and I think it's been taken back now by the community. And I think if we're talking about whether this is a bad word or not, I think it just kind of has to do with intention. If you're saying it as a slur, it's obviously a bad word. But if you're saying it in a respectful way,
intentionality is so important.
Intention. Yeah, the intention is what it means. And also like if I come to you and I say, okay, I identify as queer, okay, then it's appropriate for you to refer to me as queer. But if someone doesn't tell you that they prefer that
and you
label,
just start saying it
might not be the most appropriate to refer to them that, but it's all personal preference. Again, just a reminder about the intention of behind your words. And then the plus kind of just refers to all of the other types of expressions and labels and
anything else what couldn't be included in the acronym.
So there's a very wide range. I do encourage people that if they're curious to kind of look into that, because there's very many different things. But it just kind of makes it so that the acronym is inclusive by including that, like, okay,
the plus, because it would be way too long, probably.
It would be very long.
Because it already is, like, we understand, and that when we try to say things like this, even I mess up and fumble sometimes in just saying the 2 LGBTQ2S.
You got it.
See, like it's a lot, and so I think it's just having grace with yourself, but then also apologizing if you do make a mistake in that sense. But which then the next kind of word that we might hear on top of that is ally. That's probably a word that you've probably heard a lot, because that's been a main thing with everything, even like bullying, or I think you're being an ally or being a friend or anyway. So an ally means, though, so someone who supports and stands up for others even if they're different from them. So it's not that an ally is somebody who is a part of the community, but it's somebody who stands up for them because they don't have to be the exact same or identify the same way, but they can be that person to stand up in a different way for them, not using their voice, but for them, not using their voice in their own way and trying to say, oh, I am a part of this community, when they're not. Like, that's not what it is. It's
And I think it's really important to remember that you can't just say, I'm an ally, and it ends there. But we'll go into this a little bit
there's like a
on.
little splurb on how to be an ally, because that's important as well. Yeah.
Love. And then, again, we kind of explained what the word pride means, but it basically just means being happy and confident about who you are and showing others that you're confident in who you are, and that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay for other people to be themselves too. Yeah.
Gorgeous. Yeah. Love. Okay, and then the next part we have is just a little bit of a Q&A portion. Probably most of like the common questions that we kind of found when we were researching. But then we kind of limited it because there's so many questions that people have. And so if you do have any other questions, like, feel free to put it in the discussion forum. I don't know how we'll get back to you. Maybe at the next video we'll kind of answer it before we get into I don't know. I'm making no promises. But put it into the discussion forum and we will see what we can do.
Exactly.
So
let's go back and forth. Yeah. Like, I'll ask you a question.
Okay, so you want to start?
Okay. So what's a parade and why do people dress up for it?
Great question, Kaylee. Okay, so so specifically for pride parades, I guess, because this is what we're talking about. They're just a joyful celebration with music, dancing, colorful clothes, hence the rainbow. It's meant for people to dress up to express themselves for who they are, have fun, and show their support. It doesn't have to be super loud, though, either. You could have your own little pride party. Like, we're having a pride party at the youth center, and it's not going to be super loud. It might just be like kind of soft, have some coloring sheets, have some fun things. But so a pride parade can be more, but like there's so many different versions of it. It's just more of like that celebration piece, and it's about the expression, and it's a safe space during those parades and those times. Yeah. So next question, is pride just for people who are gay?
Nope. Not even a little. Pride's for everyone. Whether you're part of the 2S LGBT community, or if you're just an ally who supports them, or a friend of someone who's part of that community, or family, it's for everyone as long as you're being respectful.
Yeah. You're obviously, if you're going to go there and be cruel, that's not the space for you to be in there, because this is meant to be only positivity and expression and kindness.
You definitely don't have to be gay, or part of the 2S LGBTQ community. You just have to be accepting, open-minded, and just like happy to express yourself and allow other people to express themselves.
You don't even have to just be an ally, right? Like, you could just be.
But I highly recommend being an ally.
But you know what I mean? Like,
being
it's
a kind human being.
Is it?
But be a kind person. Stand up for what you believe in. Yes. As long as you're kind.
Yes. We kind of answered this one.
Oh yeah. What does two-spirit mean? We kind of explained it. It's more of a. It's not more of. It is an indigenous identity that just has a lot of cultural importance. And again, we'll include resources below for a wide range of things.
Yes.
But including just more of an explanation that can do better than we can.
So then, why are there so many flags? I'll just answer this one because you kind of did the last one, and then we skipped the middle one, and then here we are.
Go for it.
So each flag kind of represents a different group of people and how they express themselves.
And we'll include like all the flags here, just so you can kind of see the range of them. There's a lot.
Yes. Thank you. Represents a group or an identity, like being bisexual, transgender, or non-binary, kind of all those acronyms that we said in like the original lettering.
Including all the pluses.
Yes, including everything.
It's a way of saying I see you and you belong.
Moving on, but we're keeping
What's the rainbow flag for? Why are there so many colors? The rainbow flag is a symbol of love and diversity. Each color stands for something positive, like peace, happiness, and community. This actually isn't the flag. This is like the flag on the side. It's just a rainbow. But the reason it's a rainbow is each color kind of represents something. So red represents life, orange represents healing, yellow represents sunlight, green for nature, blue for harmony and peace, and then purple for spirit. At one point when this flag had come, there was like other colors, like there was a hot pink, I believe, and they took it out basically just because of availability of the colors.
Really?
Or like the dye was too expensive or something. I don't know.
Interesting.
But now the flag looks a lot different. We'll put a picture of like the current flag. It includes like a chevron, which is a way of kind of showing the intersectionality of a bunch of different identities. So there's the BIPOC identities are involved included. Sorry. There's transgender. Oh my god, I can't speak. Transgender inclusion, and then there's also inclusion for intersex identities as well. But yeah, this is like the main for the entire. I'm like referring to the.
You just keep your hand in one spot, here. So for editing, it's gonna be a lot easier.
Anyways,
oh man,
I'm losing it. Okay,
I just got okay too. Don't make me like die of laughter again.
But this is like the one for the entire community, and then all these other ones that we've just talked about are kind of for the more like specific different identities. Yeah, do you want to take the next one? What does non-binary mean?
Okay, so non-binary means someone who doesn't feel like they're just a boy or just a girl. They just might feel like they're both. Maybe they feel like they're neither, or maybe they just feel like they're something else. So they just don't want any kind of identifying gender label on them.
And like all of the, like literally every identity in this community is on a spectrum. Non-binary like identities are also on the spectrum. So like you might not feel like a boy or feel like a girl, but you might feel a little bit more feminine or a little bit more masculine, right? Or just like a range of different things. I think it's really important to remember that like not everything is like, there's a huge variety and like spectrum of how these identities are expressed. And it's like at the end of the day, it's a human experience.
Yeah.
And someone might explain themselves a little bit differently than others. So
okay. What if my family or friends don't understand?
So sometimes people need time to learn. And I think it's just important that you keep being you.
And it can be an adjustment.
Yes, and it is an adjustment. Like
you have, like, it took you potentially a while to figure it out, or to find your own way or identity or learn these things. So you have to also understand that it probably is going to take your family and friends a while. Yeah. Because it is a different shock value in a sense.
And that's not to like validate
them
family members being
cruel.
I think there's a difference. Or cruel.
There's a difference.
But there is a difference between being cruel and just simply not understanding and just needing time to process.
Yes.
And I think it's important to like, what am I trying to say? I think it's important to just like give them grace and time, but at the same time respect yourself and understand when maybe you need to take a step back from that. Like even if your family and friends don't understand, it doesn't mean that you're just like not gonna express that identity anymore. Yeah, like
exactly. Just give them time and they'll come around hopefully to love and accept you. Right.
And it also isn't like, I also want to emphasize that it's not your responsibility to educate the people in your life. Like yes, it might be helpful for you to educate them on your individual experience. But at the end of the day, like you don't need to educate other people if it's not something you feel comfortable doing. Yeah. It's other people's responsibility to educate themselves, I think. Yeah. I think it's a part of being. Listen to this podcast. Why do I keep something? Stop! It's so cringy.
We gotta do like a running tally of how many times you fist
just like a little thing at the bottom. Fist bump counter. Is it okay if I don't know what all the letters mean?
Yes. You don't have to know everything. It's all mainly about being kind and respectful, right? So learning is a part of the process. If you don't know what one of the letters stand for, ask, right? Like, or if it is a little bit of a mouth word twister, or
mouth word twister, I like that. What is the word you're actually looking for?
Right? I'm trying to
tongue twister.
Tongue twister. Thank you. If you're finding it challenging and it a bit of a tongue twister or you don't understand, the whole point is to learn and to ask questions with respect, not it's again like how you're saying it, how you're asking the questions. If you're saying it in a rude way, it's going to come off as that. But if you're saying it and it's like, wait, I actually like don't know what this means, it's better to say it that than even to even pretend like you know what it is, right?
Exactly.
It's okay to keep learning.
Of course.
So what does being trans mean?
I guess I kind of explained this earlier when I was explaining the acronym, but basically trans just means that you identify
true.
with a gender that's different than the one that you were assigned when you were born. And again, like I was talking about non-binary, this can look very different for everybody. Like they could be express themselves very differently, they could feel very differently from the next person. And I think again with kind of what you were saying, like if you don't understand
Ask
something, it's perfectly okay to ask, or to like ask a trusting adult, ask someone you're comfortable with. You can ask someone who is identifying that way, in a respectful way, of course, like make sure you're being respectful at the same time, but it's always okay to ask questions, and that's the only way you can learn. But again, respect is the hugest thing to remember. What's a pronoun and why does it matter, and what if I mess up?
Okay, so a pronoun is a word like he, she, or they. Those are kind of like the generalists. There are way more, and like again, we appreciate, like we would love you to like research this and
there's a lot of micro pronouns.
Exactly, if you want to know more. So it's the point is that you want to make sure that you're using the right pronouns to show respect for someone, and so they can choose what their pronouns are. So I'm she, her. Somebody could be she, they. There's all different versions of them that you just have to ask. And like, the best thing to do is ask what somebody's pronouns are, or hopefully they can also provide you with their pronouns.
Yeah, I feel like it's very common nowadays for someone to have, like in like a meeting setting, I guess this is the main way that I'm thinking of it, is for someone just to like introduce themselves, like, hi, my name's Kaylee and I go by pronouns she, her, just to like put it out on the table so people respect you just from the get-go.
And if you make a mistake, which is the second part of this question, it's okay, because again, it is an adjustment period for everybody, right? Grammar is something we learned from when we were kids, and this is the proper way of speaking, right? But pronouns is kind of that extra added change to our grammar, which is why some people do struggle with the adjustment to it. And so that's where it's just, if you make a mistake, apologize, ask, could you remind me what your pronouns are again? Something like that to kind of help it be smoother, because really just apologize and try again. Learn.
Exactly.
So what should I do if someone is being bullied for who they are?
So I think this kind of goes along with what we've discussed in our bullying episode, but just tell a trusted adult, let the person know they're not alone, and just like be kind and stand up for what matters. Again, this will go with our like ally thing, but I think it's really important to stand up for them, because if you don't do anything, you're kind of just, you're like not just as you're not just as bad as the bully, but like you're not doing anything to stop it, you're just letting it happen.
And no one should be bullied for something they
anything.
Nothing.
Is it okay to ask questions if I'm curious?
I think we've said this like a billion times now. Yes. Ask questions. I'm continuously asking questions.
Yeah, people would rather you ask questions to better understand than assume.
Why is respect important even if I don't understand?
You don't have to understand everything to be nice. You don't have to understand to treat people kindly. I think that's the biggest thing. It's just like, just be a decent human being.
Right? Yeah, and kind of what if I change how I feel about my identity later? Is that okay?
Yes. And I feel like this is a thing with like younger kids as well, is that if like a younger kid comes out as gay or bi or trans or anything, like anything in this community, it's very common for adults in their life or even friends to be like, well, how could you possibly know? You're young. But I think it's important to remember that like gender identity and sexuality and all this is fluid. Like it can change and shift, and I'm still learning who I am. Like there's people who don't notice who they are or recognize who they are or their identity until they're like in their 50s or 60s. Like it's okay to change your mind. And you don't really have to explain that to anyone.
Yeah.
Like if you later, like if you come out as gay and then later you come out as bi or something, it's not your responsibility to explain to anyone the specifics of that. You can just be like, this is what I identify as now. Moving on.
Moving on.
But
speaking of,
sorry, moral of what I'm saying, it's okay to change your mind.
Yes.
And it's okay to not understand or know yet.
Okay, and then the next part of our Q&A is actually questions about what is an ally, and so I think we can just kind of move over into our section on what is an ally.
So what's an ally, Vanessa?
So an ally is a person who stands up for others, even if they're not a part of the group being treated unfairly. In cases of these communities, an ally is someone who is not in that community themselves, but who believes in equality, kindness, and respect for everyone, no matter how they identify or who they love. But being an ally is more than just saying, I'm an ally. Or I support you.
No.
It means you're learning constantly. You're actually listening to what people have to say,
and like you're actively trying to make the world environment like a safer place for these people,
and you're using your voice as well to help make the world a safer place and more welcoming.
So how can we be a good ally?
Well,
we'll like popcorn back and forth.
Well, popcorn.
Love. Go.
Ugh, love popcorn.
Let's make some after.
Okay. First thing, be kind to everyone. We should honestly do a word tally of how many times we said kind.
Respect.
Like,
ask questions.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So kindness is powerful. Treat everyone with respect. Even those who are cruel, like the bullies. Like I know we talked about this in every, like treating them with kindness also just shows that they have no power over you.
Fighting fire with fire does not work.
Yeah. You don't have to get it to be good to somebody.
No. The next one is listen and learn. So always be open to learning, always be respectful and like actively listening to the experiences of people that you're trying to support. If someone shares their identity with you, listen without judgment. You don't need to have all the answers. No. You can also just like learn. It's really important. You can learn from books, you can learn from podcasts, movies, videos, a trusted adult. Just like the importance of being an ally is just like being open to learning.
Yeah, not closed-minded. Yeah. Use respectful words. So making sure that you're trying to use the right pronouns, the right names that people are asking of you. And if you make a mistake, like we've been saying, just say sorry, try again. Everyone messes up. But the important thing is that you're respecting what somebody is telling you to call them by, because that's what they've decided. It's their rights, it's their choices, and you as an ally is to respect that, not to question it more.
Of course. Yep. The next one, we've talked about this several times. Speak up against bullying. So if you see someone's being teased, left out, or just being treated poorly for the way that they are, you can stand up by telling a trusted adult, checking in with the person, or just like saying something kind or saying something out loud like, hey, that's not cool. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And it can make a huge difference.
Which kind of leads into the next one too, which is just including everyone. Like, no matter who you are, no matter what you believe, no matter where you are in this life, include everybody, right? Being an ally means making sure no one feels left out. And that's such a hard thing, especially in school. I feel like being left out is a constant theme because there's cliques or there's groups or there's things or there's group projects and it's a group of 3 and a group of 3 is already made and you have a friend group of 4, right? There's always like that people feeling left out. And so part of it is inviting everyone to play, to talk, to join, no matter how different they may seem to you or how you don't understand them. Like include them and then find out more about them. You can't just judge someone based on what they look like, what they sound like, how they identify, anything like that.
The next one is celebrate differences. So a big part about being an ally is recognizing that people are unique and not just thinking, oh, we're all the same, so I'm going to treat everybody the same. Like, it's about celebrating all of our differences, celebrating the ways that make us each unique, and not just ignoring them. Because this is just what makes communities strong. This isn't, like, it's not useful to be like, I'm just going to ignore the fact that you told me that you're gay and just treat you like every other person. Yes, treat me like every other person, but, like,
acknowledge.
Celebrate the fact that this is who I am.
Yeah. And then keep growing, right? We're, like we said, we're still learning, right? Like a lot of these things I found out today, like one of the we were even searching what one of the flags meant because we were like, wait, I actually don't know what that flag stands for, right? So it's just researching, understanding, and continuing to grow. Nobody is going to ever be a perfect ally, even if somebody's, I don't know, has done all the things, been at all the parades, all the events. There's never a perfect ally. You always might say the wrong thing. You're still learning. It's okay. Just be respectful and be kind.
Yeah, exactly.
So, right. So that the last kind of tidbit of information was kind of just the mental health toolkit, kind of Pride edition, because we want to recognize that for people within these communities, it can be more difficult than everyone else because they're sometimes hit differently from others, right? Like, yes, people have anxiety no matter what their identity is, but somebody who does identify differently and has anxiety, it can be increasing when there's people looking at you or judging you or anything like that. So here are a few little things. Like the first one, we kind of
little toolkit.
So set boundaries with people or conversations that feel draining. This could be with your family, this could be with your friends, this could be with your teachers. Kind of just set those boundaries in place to protect yourself, but also to let others know, because people won't know what your boundaries are unless you set them.
Yeah. I think this is also like kind of goes along with me saying how it's not your responsibility to educate people. Like, I think it's like useful if you're able to be like, look, this is what I identify as, here's a little bit of information, but sometimes it can be a little bit draining to have someone
constantly
asking, or they may not understand, and you can honestly just be like, look, I don't really have the capacity right now to like kind of explain this to you. Look it up, or like, here's some resources that I can give you. And that's kind of one way that you can set boundaries. The next thing is just kind of finding safe spaces. This could be online or in person.
Could be here.
It could be here. Where you can just be yourself. Like fully unmasked, fully who you want to be, who you feel your most authentic self. But yeah, there's a wide, again, I keep saying this, but I'm going to put things down below. Like, we'll put some resources down below if you are experiencing.
Like in the comment section?
No, in the description.
Oh, okay. That's what I meant.
Yeah, in the description below.
I thought you were talking about like somewhere on the screen. I'm like,
no, down below so they can click it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm on track. We're good.
Love. Just like resources if you're feeling need for support or just want
to learn more. Also, celebrate in your own way. We're talking about pride and parades and all of that stuff. If that's kind of how you want to celebrate, cool. If it's not, you don't have to feel like you have to celebrate in that way. Maybe it's just quietly journaling and could be with rainbow colors, could be not, could be just letting it out or having a little dance party in your room or something like that. Celebrate who you are in your own way, in your own space, and where you feel comfortable. Because if you don't feel comfortable in a big parade or big crowd, that's not celebrating who you are then. No. That's actually putting you in a position of discomfort.
Exactly.
So
celebrate how you would like to celebrate. Yeah. And lastly, just reach out. Whether it's a trusted adult, a counselor, a friend, just don't go through it alone. Your youth workers, your counselors, parents, your friends. Yeah, you don't ever have to do this alone. It could be online too. Like, there's a lot of great online resources too if you're really struggling with something. But reach out, and you never have to do it alone.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we got for you. I think we want to do like a little challenge for the week is just do something kind for someone that is including them and make them feel included. That's what we hope that you do this month.
Yeah. And share below what you did and how it made you feel.
Yeah, because kindness influences everyone around you. Who you did it for, yourself, and for others watching that you did it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
That's the vibe today. And just remember, you belong, you're loved, and you matter.
I just thought of the Taylor Swift song.
You belong with me. Okay. Bye.
That's the vibe. Bye.